Hi everyone, welcome to Splash Poetry. My name is Nancy Pop and I'm here, your host for the night. JC is unfortunately ill today, so it'll just be little old me up here whisking us through the evening. Back there, let's give a round of applause to Jonas Kyle, the owner of the bookstore. Woo! Jonas! Just a little backstory. So Jonas and I, and also JC, who's not here, the three of us and a handful of other people, we made a feature film a few years ago called Poets Are the Destroyers. So if you saw our poster for the event, it says Poets Are the Destroyers Present, and that's what that is about. The film is now streaming on Redbury TV, and we'd love for you guys to check it out. So go to Instagram and follow Poets Are the Destroyers, and you'll see more news about events like this and also about the film. For the evening, I'm giving poets about 10 to 15 minutes max to read your work. You can read whatever you want, but 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Sorry, Jonas. 10 minutes max. In between each poet, I'll just be reading a little work of mine to just get us through the evening and offer a little bit of a palate cleanser. So I will start off with something I wrote. I have chronic insomnia, so I write a lot of these when I haven't slept in days. I'm lying in bed writing poems about my big fat hairy cunt. Meanwhile, somewhere out there, my soulmate is probably asleep, like a good soulmate would. They're perfect. They're in bed every night by 10. They trim their eyebrows every 2 weeks, never a single nose hair out of place. They brew the best pot of coffee every morning and make a lot of money. Money that they're going to spend one day on me. Just kidding. If my soulmate were poor, well, they're my soulmate, right? So it wouldn't matter. One thing I've noticed is that financially disadvantaged people fuck. Like they have $5 in their checking account, but you will come, goddammit. Actually, I don't think my soulmate has nose hairs. Not that they wax or yank it out or anything. Sometimes I wonder if my soulmate is a beautiful albino person without any hair. There was this beautiful albino man in my high school. I think it was high school, I can't remember. Anyways, he was BEA beautiful and he had no hair, not even eyebrows. I bet it simplifies the process of being perfect, not having to worry about hair. Not that I don't want hair on my body. It's all fine where it is most of the time. I wonder what my soulmate thinks I am like, and if they're also awake at 2 a.m. contemplating pubes during an existential crisis. And our first poet of the night is actually Jonas Kyle. It's you.
Well, thanks everyone for coming. And there's actually a lot of people here. All crowded up. I've been writing all these anti-Russian poems. This might be the last one that I write because I'm sort of tired of it, but I'm going to read that one, and then I'll read another one about olive oil, and the last one, wait, maybe I should put that on, what do you call it? Yeah. All right, and then another one about information. Okay, so, shove over Putin or I'll break your balls and every ball of Russian men. Reverse cowgirl, shove over Putin or I'll break your balls and every ball of Russian men. Reverse cowgirl pointing east. No more invasions of the West. Instead we'll come get you. Finishing the job the French and the Germans failed to do. Don't doubt the reverse invasion, and also kiss your kisser in your ass goodbye. None of them will be left except in pieces scattered in tattered fields. Are you scared? Or are you too numbskulled to show it and know it? I guess alligators don't sense that they could be shot through the beam with a .22. And what about you, you Africans, and you Asians, and you South Americans, plus you too, you American Republicans who side with Russia? I just want to wring your neck. Do you have an opinion? You can, but behind that opinion, start looking around for your extinction. There's no excuse for siding with Z. Putin. The thing is, I'm a better pimp than you Ferris wheel faggot, St. Petersburg pierogi. I pimp poets that no longer exist in your Siberian wastes or in your gremlin Kremlin town. I understand the new mind that will screw you into muck. I know you're a holdout that needs destroying. That's what's going to happen, whether you like it or not. I pimp the poets of the true phonic pharaoh revolution, underwriting the love we like according to split seconds, split lives, split decisions, splitting planks on the floor, splitting headaches, and more. You'll be long gone and disremembered when the next party pops a weasel. So that's that Russian poem. And then this is the one about olive oil. How come what's his name, I mean St. Paul, who came on trying to save us all with Christ risen like bread, son of loaf of God, never mentioned olive oil? I mean, olive oil, skinny as phone charge cable, makes Popeye eat spinach in olive oil. So why did Paul completely miss the menu of what we would eat in everlasting life? I sell Italian cookbooks and ones from Lebanon, Greek of course as well, plus Cypriot gastronomic tomes, and grew up with the growth of olive oil seeping into our food stream, seeping into our food stream as welcome stranger danger. Olive oil being a no-brainer that is the main thing one needs to live life forever. Does God run a lousy boot camp cafeteria like in prison? What about the good food? What about the mozzarella, Paul? You wax long and hard about the pros and cons of circumcision. What about the onions and poblano peppers fried up right? Good food actually answers a lot of questions of faith, and olive oil answers all of them. Come on, Paul. A well-oiled belly betroths the universe. The soul is just an aftertaste. So that's that one. And then, this is the last one. This is called Don't Ask, But Do Tell. Is this useful information or not? Is what I'm saying useful information? Can you use what I'm saying to live longer and wealthier and finer and more fruitfully? Heap scorn or pile on praise on reincarnation and cycles of betterment or degradation, depending on your investment strategy. Well, there's unreachable, like when you call and they never answer. So the nuance is hard to get, like a muon or a left spin gluon. Elementary, my dear Watson, detecting the solution to a crime drives deep into reality and alters it. We all know that, but the info is stop trying to control everything. Stop being so passive, as in passive-aggressive. What time is it? That's a jump on salvation, in the sense of your unresolved selfishness. Sinking surreptitiously births beatitude. Also, no matter what form of life, everything works. Kept secrets secrete truth. Volcanoes rupture. Deep magnetism guides the beat of all music. That's just the way it is. All right, there you guys.
This is like the weirdest time of the year. I feel like I talked to a couple of you guys before we started and we all agreed that like January through March is the worst time of the year. Does anyone agree?
Yes.
Yeah. Is anyone like depressed right now? Like right now? This is a poem about my depression. I want to put myself in a melatonin-induced coma, a melatoma. Melatoma mama made up in mania and dream of all the faux pas and faux gras, live 1,000 lives as the REM flies. I am cosplaying as my year of rest and relaxation. Every night at 7:30 p.m. I pop open the purple pills and put them down my throat. It feels so nice to drift off alone, at home, in my zone. In my head I roam. Reformed night owl turned daytime diva with a penchant for afternoon naps. Eyes wide open and eggs on the pan at the break of daylight, peeking over the skyscrapers, scraping, scrapping, the lids awake, banging into my fortitude and disrupting my peace. Sticky, tacky, ant-sized crusties dried to my lashes. I think of ice cream buffets and crumbled nuts, the sound of nuts of hitting plastic cups. Moist morsels, malignant today, tomorrow. The greatest feeling is silk on your cheek and waking up after 10 hours to just a peak of morning dew outside on the horizon. Warm all around without a single sound. Maybe a small bird calls to say good morning, happy tomorrow. I am pretending to be the opposite of myself. It is a meditative practice in living, even though I spend less time being alive now. I am redefining what it means to be alive, to feel like one of the living, the undead, the never gone. I used to think being alive meant movement, decisions, thoughts, actions, eyes open and brain alert and fingers moving and feeling and drowning in noise and sensory craze. Now I am practicing living only in my head. In my head, I am a master conductor. The orchestra crescendos to a resounding ah. I have finished a marathon, and someone has placed a crown on my gorgeous head. And I am rich, very rich, a big fucking rich bitch. And there is a line of folks wrapped around my block begging to eat my ass. And there is nothing more to strive for because I have completed all of the challenges. And I am beyond nirvana in my visions. And I am beyond the need to reincarnate. I have become God and God is me. And then I wake up or I stop running and I am back to normal. Thank you. Next up, we have Andres Cordoba. Andres Cordoba. There he is.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Jonas, for putting this together. It's really cool to be reading poetry. I love doing that. And thank you all my friends for coming. My sister's here. She's never seen me read before, so this is exciting. Okay, I'm going to start with, I wrote this poem. Well, it doesn't really matter when I wrote it, but it's called When a Cop Eats, the Food is Nostalgic for the Outside. I think cops grasp their shoulders, strutting, stiff-legged and spit-lipped, because they believe they are captains. Captains are, or were, men of light fingers. Legend claims they could rest 2 tips to the coming surf and raise them without even a divot. I've never seen that, but sometimes I see holes in the city and wonder if they are born from destruction or purpose. Watch man declare himself vacuum, and then watch vacuum declare itself man. I think cops want love in the same way cows dream of the beyond. That is to say, a cow can know its fears, but it can never learn its song. In New York, we don't say, thank you for your service. We open subway gates for the homeless. There are no handouts unless you want one. And if you want one, you're given lusterless little metal to place your bad days into, and a stupid little smirk that you hold where a scream would otherwise go. Time, a fat, round thing, has blood and veins, and the dust is its flesh. Since learning I lived in a living thing, I learned better than to expect simple order. There are many beasts holding many long smudges in their churning bowels, and when I get too high from smell of fall, I begin to see how I am more river than man. I am a sea of still wrong named color, and I flowed in from a great expanse, so great that it felt like an illusion when I first bloomed. How we never truly leave once we enter a room. I think cops sleep at night by imagining exhaustion as their burden. They retell themselves stories never written. They chew drugs hard, and the taste is bitter, like it is for us all. When a cop dreams, he is not just right, he is gospel. When a cop eats, the food is nostalgic for the outside. When a cop is, he is lonely. And he looks to other cops and asks, are you lonely? And the other cops ask, why the long thought? And maybe he says, I don't know. As a boy, I saw a man once, and he was tall. And now, no one is tall anymore. Everyone is small, and I hate the way they look at me. I'll come back to this one if I have time. I've never read this one out loud. I've always been very proud of it. It's one of the first good poems I wrote when I was a wee poet. It's about my dad. The assignment was write a parable from someone's perspective. So I just had to write a parable from my father's perspective. And he was an immigrant from Colombia. So It's called How We Left Rooms. 1983. We were all running down dogs in Bogota. Then a stone stole my step. My 7-year-old eyes were flooded, turbid, and, as if shame isn't enough as a bachelor, fate married it with pain. A messenger swerving, a brake pad loose, a nail raw and jutting, working feet pumping, pedals wheeling, and I watching. A honeybee drink thick pollen, while my arm opened itself from elbow to wrist. This my forever fate, torn, white wings on another radical butcher block. Interlude over blue. We left by the night's fall. 1988. We grew ripe in commonwealths, mousy in the rinds of winter. Massachusetts, my tired child, messiah, my heart's holiest, unkempt visitor. We got to keep our shoes until we didn't. Me and my brother Richie, poor as pain and still having pale hands victorious in their daily snatching of thrift store Nikes. I fought, I lost, I became a lesser god, lips torn at the Cupid's bow. My brother's wet shame butchering that like broken face into badland borders. His needs always did make me seasick. We spent too much time over oceans as kids that even the scent of a teardrop could still send me spiraling, supplicating. 1992. The cars are lifted by my arms, and it's no tall tale, but I tell you I was taller than now, and lifting weights fucks your growth, but gets you fucked. The girls loved me like a child. All smiles and quiet, because words came hard out, and thoughts felt lost in. And all those teachers were crocks of shit to think translation is worth the time when you don't decide which words to make your masters and abide. 1996. She wouldn't have stayed if I hadn't. Call it force, but inertia is stronger than kinetic. We swapped dorms and spit in schools I never applied or considered, and Richie drove me in cars he implied were delivered stuff full of substance, dripping powders like torn feathers out pillows. These evergreen nights of eternal loss where I'd make love and he'd make funds, and we'd meet in the middle of the night to return where we come. The trip's long, my vision blurred, nausea and nostalgia playing sticky crotch teen fuck fumbling in the backseat of my heart, where I could feel that old stitch itch, and I'd rub until my arm bled. And Richie always did beg me to sleep it healed. 2000. She had a boy, and he talked, and he cried, and he whined, and how could he be so sad here? She loved him, though. And now there were 2 of us to love, and 2 of me, and 2. Duplicates and resurrections of dead dad ideals, the kind that had burrowed into brain cavities with botfly, cuckoo, tapeworm instinct. My father warning us on that first plane, we'd one day find our time, one day find our place. But time never does seem to appear. Richie, a contractor, me, another broke father. Our dad sneers at all the dreams I slept through, all the condoms I poked through, all the times I got to. It's 2s and excess as I exist to feed a new world mouth that once stole my shoes. 2007. We are all raising losing dogs in America. My boy weeps every fucking day. Sniveling at sunlight's bright and autumn's chill and paper cuts and films and pets sick and adults loud, and the boy seems to be lacking deep, a brineless deficient sea. He leaks from some hole, I seal it with a punch. The boy needs to know the smell of surf, needs to grow sick of this curse of ever drowning from within, blue deltas red thick with salts, heritage, sediments, that he licks wide-eyed and shocked, drips loud and hot down to this scarred over stitch, this oceanic fist. And then we kiss. It's how my father left rooms. I'll read this one, and if there's time, maybe one more, but also maybe not. I wrote this one because I was walking home and this guy was walking out of a Popeyes, and this kid on a bike just went whizzing by him, and he was like, "I'll fuck you up." And the kid on the bike turned around and said, "Yeah," and the guy went, "Nope." And I was like, I love that honesty. Like, you wanted to fuck him up, but then you knew you couldn't. So this is called In Case of a Fight. The best case scenario, I beat down a man who was my brother and shared trials at the dark hands of our twin oppressors. Worst case scenario, I get my shit kicked in by a fellow capsized victim of a brutal surf, our fired capillaries spurting congruous, iron-flavored devastation and equal awful heaves of our squished fish hearts. Slippery in our shared carnivorous scrambles, messy groping for the hot nape of the other as we leave our once frenetic bodies as excoriated as a child's pinky-made pulp ribbon in a schoolhouse manual sharpener. Don't worry. The winner gets a white bed and a soft light, and the loser will be made to walk the ocean floor as all a million atmospheres come down, brutal around their ears, like boots falling from the sky. One leathery soul at a lonely time. Their wounds, bleeding totems. I don't have time, so I'll just step off. But thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. This next poem I'm going to read is something that I wrote today. It's definitely not polished, so bear with me, but I think you'll get the gist of it. I think the worst thing in the world you can be is a mother. The act of birth is traumatizing and at times deadly or almost sometimes somewhere in between. Your body is alive, but your mind and soul have grown numb or forlorn or overeager or something else that I don't have the word right now to describe. And you are suddenly no longer the captain of your own ship. And this can be seen as a good thing by optimists, but I've never claimed to be one publicly, I don't think. And so as a non-optimist, I would say that a constant state of vulnerability is what often leads people to madness. Madly in love, madly in lust, madly insane. I think the worst thing in the world you can be is a mother because mothers are not given their due. They are abused oftentimes by fathers and repeatedly, thoroughly by their own children. 9 months in the womb and a lifetime's worth of labor, and they are still expected to do all of the work. I think the worst thing in the world you can be is a mother because mothers always seem to be in pain. Anytime their child is sad or doesn't succeed or is incapable of something, a mother blames herself, a mother shames herself, a mother stops living her own life when she becomes a mother. She is no longer described as a woman or a professor or a physician. She is a mother, and a mother she will always and only be. I think the worst thing in the world you can be is a mother because some mothers are incapable and they have to make the difficult choice to give their own to someone more grown. And how painful to admit you are not enough. For those women who chose to be mothers or discovered they were mothers when it was too late, whether by choice or force or plain ignorance, and to be judged without trial, to be vindicated for actions that are not just your own, to bear the responsibility when the pendulum was never meant to swing in your favor, I would like to spit on the face of the patriarchy for you. I think the worst thing in the world you can be is a mother, because you have so much love to give and all you do is continue giving it. And you give and give and give and leave nothing for yourself, mother willow giving tree, and we know how that turned out for the tree. Naked and void of anything but its spirit. A mother would rather die giving her all to her baby than be clothed to the storm outside. I think the worst thing in the world you can be is a mother, because even if it's not your fault, it is your fault. That your child didn't grow up to be the president or a doctor or a psychologist. The fetishization of childhood trauma and online therapy and flawed Freudian tricks is turning everyone against their parents, mothers especially, another dig by the patriarchy. Children cannot take responsibility for their failures, and so they blame who else but their mothers. What about the others, the fathers? Can you fools please stand up? I think the worst thing in the world you can be is a mother, because some people are not good mothers or can't be good mothers truly, and so they ruin lives by ruining the foundation for which others can be mothers. I think the worst thing in the world you can be is a mother, because one day mothers die and children are left with no one to be loved by, because the love of a mother is more than what many of us deserve. Don't we all deserve the love of a mother, though? Thank up, I have Loisa Fennichell.
Can I stand on this like cardboard box or is this like a stage? Oh my god, that's so fun. Okay, cool, fun. Hi, I'm Loisa. Woo! I'm gonna read the first couple of poems I'm gonna read tonight are from a book of mine forthcoming in the fall. It's very much inspired by Virginia Woolf's The Waves, and that like the waves, it works to, which is a great book. If you haven't read it, you should definitely read it. And like the waves, it works to sort of marry poetry with prose, with playwriting. And so a lot of the poems in the book are these prose poems labeled with like Act 1, Scene 5, like Act Roman numeral, Scene Roman numeral. So that's some context for these first couple of poems. The first one is Act 5, Scene 4. I caressed so many thoughts until he left me dangling like the claw of a sweetest bear. I wore mountain ranges until they took on the outline of my own mortified body. Wore trellised maps rendered in a particular shade of light around my shoulders. This is how life worked. I was always stealing moments of night and turning those moments into morning. Simply put, I was hungry. I wanted him to press his fingers against the plush insides of my cheeks, to permit me to touch the underbellies of his bones, if only for a minute. He fled with the Stellar's jays that used to roost outside my kitchen window. His timing was always perfect, or imperfect. Lines grew hazy after he left. Wires grew tangled as talons. I missed him. Language had betrayed me, but at least I knew I missed him. I was rarely logical, but in this way, at least I knew. He had a bicycle. I never saw it, but it was real. Once, he told me the story of riding through this turbulent city like an archaeologist. How happy he thought he felt. Usually he complained of the city. I rode my own bicycle. It was invisible, to an equally invisible beach. There I waited. The next poem was also from the same manuscript. And this poem actually mentions my brother, who is here tonight in the back. Hi, Aaron. It's Act 1, Scene 9. Not enough language for the singing flock. The man fishing at the mouth of it. Tonight, I hang dresses from my bedroom walls. Their fabrics glow like goat's eyes. The river swallows like the bird. I walk through town with a gaze that averts all faces. Faces too familiar. Faces I've slept inside of as though they were beds of grass. Yes, I've been in love with beauty before. The dog who strays the fields, his tongue lolled out like mine. Tonight, the dog and I both need help with our indescribable qualities. The dog has jagged fur. Perhaps he does define his life by the fact that his paws will melt were they to meet with fire. When I was young, in restaurants, my brother and I held competitions. We winged our pointer fingers through candles' flames to see whose would burn off first. My brother always was better than I at specifying his existence. He knew he was born during the strength of summer. He knew how to tell jokes. The lights dim. The theater grows empty of thorns. In the next couple... The next couple of poems I'm going to read are from a thesis manuscript I'm currently working on. It's called Folk Songs because I really love folk music, as people who know me will know. This one is called Large Bruise. I ate a dream, as it often goes. Went to a party dressed in overalls. Tried to ask people questions about themselves, their lives, their beverages. Tried to avoid speaking about myself. It's true. I'm a narcissist. Not even in the fashionable way. I do not wander pastures looking for a pond. Why bother? A mirror hangs over the closet door. I stare into it with a desire to vomit. I thought I was getting better. The way I'm able to satisfy a lover. I would rather open a jar of jam with one hand. You are the lover. You want just once to hear about the dream. It's getting old. It's about a woman I love so significantly that I drown her in the heat of a starkly green river. When I wake up, dead rats hang about the gutter. I could carve into one just to taste it. I used to fold the people who hated me into my backside like kitchen knives. Now I wear gray sweaters because my mother tells me to. Language is manipulative. You wonder if I'm manipulating you now. If I am, it's by accident. It's my dumb charm. The next poem is called Hotel. Hotel. Say some Saturday, supine across the bed, lights shut off, needing to take ourselves into our own mutual version of nighttime weather. We buried our forks into cold slices of pie. Outside, wind's sheaths burst across tumbling waves. Berry's taste racked my mouth like an afterthought. My diary laid open on the carpet like an intruded upon grave. I did want you to know my innermost thoughts. You did not read the diary. You bent over the bed, tore out its limbs of paper, stuffed them into my mouth. I was not talking, but you needed to shut me up. We made love, as it often goes, deep into a hotel's dark pitch. When you left me for the bathroom, my abdomen heaved over alone. You emerged with water, allowing me to drink. Night turned itself over to dawn. Outside, I knew trees' branches were waking, scraping against the window. Cardinals were sounding above the roof. I could not hear anything. Saw your left arm draped over my stomach, your chest cascading, full of its very own breath. I think that's all I have.
Amazing, thank you. This next one is another one that I wrote today, so it's also it is what it is. I laid in the sauna today completely ass naked, thinking about gender and expansiveness, the universe, feminism, altruism, etc., all that good endless bullshit, asking myself non-questions about intersectionalism that I'm sure I could find a book on somewhere in this store that would better articulate my naked, wet, sweat-fueled thoughts than I can now, hours later, hunched over my desk, trying to recapture what the fuck I thought was so important at the time to write about. I can never remember all of the good thoughts I had when I was at my post-workout serotonin high, filled with optimism for the future, self-assurance, sex drive, the only part of my day where I feel remotely good lately. Am I depressed, or is depression me? I've been crying a lot lately, not like giant sobs that last for hours. That would be so therapeutic. Please sign me up for the next session. But just randomly throughout the day, nothing will be happening. I'll be legs open, pussy out in the sauna, for instance, and I'll have the most profound, sad, or ubiquitous thought and cry a mild 4 out of 10 for a minute or two, and then whimper to myself. If anyone asks me if I'm okay, I just say it's anxiety, and maybe it is just anxiety. But I think truly I am slowly losing my mind in the uncertainty of my life right now, in this very present, very real moment in time. I'm going through a phase and I don't know what it is. I read online that people who play the same music over and over again have the worst anxiety because they fear the uncertainty of feeling new feelings when listening to a new song or artist. So I did the most brave thing I could think about today and put my Spotify on shuffle. And for 20 minutes sat through agony listening to a curated French top 50s playlist, Je ne parle pas français, calling this act of musical expansion brave means different things to different people. If allowing yourself a moment of discomfort as a way to expand the opportunity of growth isn't brave, then I don't know what is. You don't have to save an old lady from a house fire to be brave. I want everyone to leave me alone. I want everyone to leave me alone. I started listening to this podcast called Saturn Returns, and it makes me want to die. The fact that I'm listening to random strangers for an hour talk about their life and trying to give me advice on mine. Who the fuck are you? I want to throw my phone at the wall and kill something small and cute, but I don't, because a new phone is expensive and I'm not a murderer. I terrify myself by having that impulse when I know the thing I want to hurt is myself. But I trudge on doing the opposite day in, day out, hoping for the moment that I can unleash a good wail. The best place to cry is the R train. For a month in 2019, I crashed on a friend's couch who lived in Bay Ridge and took the R train every day to and from work. That's 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, 15 hours a week of crying, listening to the same Lana Del Rey song. It was so healing. Thank you. Hannah Finnie.
Sure my fly is done.
We would tell you.
It's not. Hi guys. Hi Jonas. Jonas and I are publishing a book soon of my writing. That will be sold here. Aren't I supposed to say that?
Yeah, you should.
Okay.
Good job.
Thanks. He yelled at me for not saying that, and now I feel like I'm doing it wrong.
No, like, yeah, say what it's going to be called.
Okay, it's gonna be called. Fine, Dad. He's not my dad. He's not my dad. He just feels like my dad. Sometimes. It's called oh my god. It's called It Could Always Be Like This. Woo! Woo! And it will be out soon. Ish. I'm gonna try to make this less than 15 minutes. I'll start with a crowd pleaser. From my pile of pages. Sorry, I'm really nervous. Whew. Okay. Oh, fuck it. I'll start with the one I finished today that I'm most nervous about. I'll get that out of the way. I haven't read this to anyone. Not even Jonas, my New York dad. Sam and I weren't together anymore, and we still discussed seeing Titanic in the theater. The rationale being that it was in the theater again, and it was 25 years old. Can you believe it? I was so young when I saw it with my nanny, who was from Munich, who looked just like Leonardo DiCaprio. It was confusing watching her put him up on her walls. Oh, Leo, how I love him. Her handsome Germanic face pressing into his teen beat photo. On her 5th time to see the movie in the theater, she snuck me in. I watched as she wept while Leo drowned, swallowing her tears as he swallowed his. I looked at his face freezing, and I looked at her face pulsating and alive. After they played Orpheus, after this film was locked and loaded, based on a locked and loaded historic tragedy, after she had seen it and knew the ending 5 times over, I watched as her face locked and unlocked with the agony of another heartbreak. When I met Sam at the movies, they were handing out single long stem red roses, which I summarily declined at the door despite wanting one. The theater seats were flooded with college-age girls holding roses. Talk between us was scant, so I blurted out that I continued to water Sam's plant that was still at my house. We called the plant the supermodel because of her flagrantly inappropriately long limbs. The supermodel sat on my shelf, gorgeous, judging me, probably wondering where her man had gone. Sam joked periodically that he hoped I was talking to her enough, though I knew on another level this wasn't completely a joke. The movie commenced and I felt the ambient grip of young girls clutching their long stem roses. For extra money, you could have water spritzed in your face at the appropriate time during the film, or your chair could jerk around, which only happened whenever a male character was enraged. I did all the things girls are guilty of doing to boys in movies. I gazed preeningly to gauge any emotion in Sam's face. I stared as the movie screen light bounced impishly off the dimple I wanted to dive into, because it oddly seemed the safest alcove. I did not know that when I was slightly scoffing at the final sequence, Sam was biting the inside of his cheek. I stared because I didn't dare move a hand onto Sam's knee, as I don't know the barometric status of the air we inhabit right now. I had willfully forgotten after 25 years that the movie was actually upsetting, especially the part where the boat becomes vertical and the passengers slide hopelessly into the air, into the water and the dark. Still, I envied the romance between Jack and Rose within the finite container of this voyage, this disaster, this movie, because they said, I love you, knowing it was worth it, because they didn't have forever. They only had about 3 hours. Not like our vague, vast expanse of who knows how long, and who knows what we are, and who knows whether we'll ever know. We wound up back at Sam's afterward and sat on the floor. I bit the inside of my cheek. Sam asked if I needed to be held. To be asked was always the thing I wanted, and I didn't know when I'd be asked again. I didn't dare move. I sat frozen on the floor while his arms wrapped around me. I didn't know what we were to each other except 2 still bodies floating on a rug. In the aftermath of another breakup, I did what I'd done in similar times before. I gave myself a haircut. My face locked and unlocked as I squeezed dull scissors together and apart, trying to achieve Leo's effortlessly boyish chop. My hair had nothing of Leo's roguish locks, my lack of technique resulting in a thick helmet. I texted Sam a photo of Linda Evangelista after she chopped her hair in the 90s and couldn't tell if it interested him at all. In the reckless aftermath, I conceded to a bartender's invitation to attend a stranger's baby shower sex party. She explained it was the mother-to-be's last hurrah because, you know, she's giving birth. I showed up with my haircut and a plaid skirt and tights because no one told me what you wear to a baby shower orgy. The other women in attendance had hair to their waists and long sheer robes that highlighted their lingerie. I felt like Velma from Scooby-Doo solving a mystery at a Victoria's Secret angel show. I let a man flog me and I went home. In my reckless aftermath, I sat alone in my room one night. I texted Sam, "I'm bringing the supermodel into my room." "Okay," he wrote back, "but only if she's okay with it." "Yeah, I know," I said. "I'll ask first." I took her from the shelf and she wrestled with me the way down and through the threshold of my door. She tore everything down in her wake. She pulled my headphones out of my ears. She demanded my attention right now. Or she was mad I'd yanked her from her slumber. Because the supermodel doesn't get out of bed for less than a certain amount, and I subsist on crumbs. Objects slid off my shelf like the humans on that Snap vessel. She called me ugly and she called me stupid and she knocked over a coffee mug. She calmed down after I cleared everything off my nightstand so she could languish on it. I spread her lurid green limbs out and they created shadows, which she liked. I reminded her she is pretty. I spritzed her with water, appropriately. She deserved all the water. She calmed down, but then I sat across from the supermodel and she said, "Fine, as long as I have to be here, you might as well draw me." That bitch showed me something she knew about beauty. Afterward, I had a smoke on my stoop like Jack definitely did atop the port bow. I fell asleep as the supermodel made her way into my bed and grazed my home-cut fried hair while whispering "thank you" as I fell asleep. I dreamt of waking to find her gone. In the dream, I call Sam, assuming she is back with him, but he hasn't seen her either. A houseplant takes Manhattan then. I see her on the street and try to wave her down. Then I see Sam and he's already given up. "I tried, she isn't having it," he says, defeated. I shrug. She's a supermodel. And I realize it's one of the few objective truths that occur between us. Sam and I stare at each other, like when we are on the rug. "Nice haircut," he says. Then something about how I might need to get someone to fix the back. Then he says wistfully something about if only we hadn't had to break up so many times or have so much pain. He does this in real life too. Yet here we are, I say, and then something about how it probably had to happen. And I hope I say it stoically. I hope I don't sound like a total idiot. I ask Sam if it's foolish to not lose hope for us. "No," he says, "you should never lose hope. You love doing that." It's not my first choice response, but it will do until I wake again. Okay, I'll read this one now. Maybe it was your own nannies, whom you love so dearly. I'm just gonna say this. I realized on the way over, I have so many celebrities in my poems, and I didn't do that on purpose. Sorry. Maybe it was your own nannies, whom you love so dearly. Maybe it was Mary Poppins and Maria in The Sound of Music. They both infiltrate a household with songs and magic tricks. They both are heroes by the end. They both were played by Julie Andrews. You ask Mary, who is herself a nanny, and she tells you. The only ones to worry about are young, hip, cool moms. The ones who ask you about your crazy plans this weekend with a faux deviousness, or tell you how bad they used to be in their 20s. Mary tells you the young mother's smiles get tighter and tighter. Is it a thing, you ask, because they're afraid you'll seduce the husband? Don't flatter yourself, she says, and stop watching so much porn. You start working for a young hip mom. She wears clogs and takes Pilates. She says baby daddy in the casually stunning interpolation of ebonics that wealthy women employ. She has Aesop soap in the bathroom and Meldon salt in the kitchen. She laughs easily and compliments your outfits. You remember what your friend said about young hip moms. Her daughter likes you, thank God. She's cooler than most 4-year-olds you've met. She can play songs by the Zombies on piano and wears clothes that cost more than your cool little outfits. She tells you are funny. You think, my new best friend is 4. One day you are late to pick up the daughter. One day you forget to pack a snack. One day cool hip mom registers her perfume on you. One day you want to show her a photo of your daughter and her daughter, and your audio porn starts playing. You decided watching porn just makes you sad, and you have a vivid imagination anyway. Young hip mom definitely hears it. The labored breathing of people fucking emanating from the phone of her child's nanny. You scramble to turn it off, but you can still feel it between the both of you. One day her daughter says to her mom in front of you that she wants to go to art school, just like you, and it is the first time you realize her mom does not want her daughter to be like you. You want to go to art school. That's news. Tight smile. You imagine her thinking, how dare you? I pay this much a year for my daughter to go to art school, you think? To have her get a BFA and fucking around and then spend her days looking after other people's kids, and you wonder what your own mother thinks of you. It occurs to you that you are not the victim. It occurs to you that she's the one enduring your presence, that she's letting a little creep with arguably a myriad of undiagnosed mental health issues into her home daily. And yet her kids don't want you to go. And yet she continues to bankroll your pitiful tchotchkes, your nights you won't remember, your self-help books you'll never read. At a certain point, she stops asking what crazy plans you have for the weekend. She doesn't comment on your outfits. You wonder how often she recalls the audio porn incident. When she says you can go home early, the daughter bemoans you leaving. You look in cool mom's direction and feign feeling put upon, exaggerated rolling eyes. It's a bid for forgiveness, to say you know you're beneath her. She looks at the floor. No tight smile. You're not friends. She says she'll pay you for the usual time. I was going to read one more. Is that okay?
Yes.
How do I lower this mic, by the way? I should have asked that earlier. Thank you. My apartment building in Ridgewood has a free box on the first floor. People put their crap in there and wait for someone else to take it. One day I look inside and find an expired bottle of dextroamphetamine and a torn flower dress, and I take both of them up to my room. My room is a windowless construction built by my drug dealer roommate, who has a really enviable personality. My room is 8 feet off the ground, and I climb a ladder, and in lieu of a door is a wispy curtain. I can't quite stand up straight or I'll hit my head on the ceiling, which happens a good amount. I get a lot of compliments on the free box dress almost every time I wear it. Sometimes I'll take some expired dextroamphetamine, thinking it'll help me write my masterpiece. Instead, I shave off all of my body hair and organize all of my books along the plywood floor of my box room. I do a thing where I act out a celebrity interview with myself. The thing that I'm not writing is being called a work of unbridled genius by everybody. The interviewer says things like, "You've had quite the ride," and we both laugh knowingly. She says, "Was there ever a point in your life when you weren't sure you were ever going to make it? Oh God, I say, try every single day of my life. I used to live in a box in Ridgewood. The interviewer asks, what other roles have boxes played in your life? I tell her about begging my mother to save every giant cardboard box so I could crawl inside, how I planned on building a cardboard mansion. I tell her how my best friend Mary and I took cardboard boxes and strapped them over our shoulders, walked through the Wendy's drive-thru like we were in a car, ordered milkshakes and fries. The manager finally threatened to call the cops. I mentioned the boxes of new furniture that arrived the morning my ex threw me out, how my first thought was to take a box with me so I'd have a home. This makes her, the interviewer, sad, and she goes, using my mom's voice. I tell her I considered making a cardboard sign that reads, ask me what happened, while sitting on the sidewalk, and for whatever reason, this lightens the mood and the audience laughs. I say, I actually found this dress I'm wearing in a box, and they all clap. I recount the fake boyfriend I made from unfolded FedEx boxes. He sat in my bedroom for a year, flat and smiling only at me. That story must creep out your real boyfriend, the interviewer exclaims. I smile and say, he knew what he was getting into. The audience likes that too. It's a reliable reprieve from my money troubles. Earlier in the day, I purchased a pricey bottle of vitamins, claiming to sharpen my brain. That's a tall order, I think, using my dad's voice. I want to see if they make me smart enough to not spend money I don't have on shit like this. Smart enough to not move to New York City without a plan, which already happened. To not be so clingy with a guy that it drives him away, already happened. To not wander back to a stranger's flop apartment at 2 a.m. and wait in the hallway because his uncle is finishing up in there. To not go into the room and hear the door shut behind me. To not think, this is my life now. I'm stuck in this room with a stranger if I want to stay alive. I choke down a vitamin and consider how I spend money more irresponsibly the less I have of it. I need the penance of having spent too much, of having to offset my penance in a variety of ways, like how billionaires with private jets offset their carbon footprint, allegedly. Offsetting is pilfered testers from Sephora, too many free samples from Trader Joe's, a jump turnstile, a few free drinks if I play my cards right. I'm too afraid to shoplift, which is a shame. I can no longer afford therapy, so I start having fake phone conversations with nobody out loud. It feels dumb at first, but you kind of get into it, and I can sort through some things and occasionally have a breakthrough. Reflexiveness can be reflective. I tell the voice that says this doesn't really count as self-awareness. I'm too broke to get brunch with Mary, so I say I have to work on my masterpiece. I take more expired dextroamphetamine. The interviewer says, what advice do you have for people who have given up?
Don't stop. Alright. A few of you here probably heard this one before, but I really like it, so I'm going to read it again.
Woo.
I'm trying to deal with my problems, you know. But like, what even fucking problems are there? I haven't washed my hair in 4 days, so I filled it with dry shampoo. I was bored the other day, so I bought a vape. I couldn't pay my rent last month, so I just didn't until I could. Okay, and my brain is rotting, numb from the endless scroll, the TikToking, the Instagramming, the checking Facebook, even though only my grandma logs on and the only other news I get from it now is when people are dead. Nobody posts about dead people on Instagram. I come to Instagram to read infographics and see everyone's new BBLs. I don't want to know about your uncle who died in a car crash. I mean, I do, and I'm sorry for your loss, but I'll read about it on Facebook. I'm over-comparing problems to other problems. It used to make me feel guilty. But I've grown up, and I think a part of growing up is realizing that guilt is a pointless emotion. Any emotion is pointless unless it's followed by action, even love. You can say you love someone, but unless you do something about it, did you even get kissed? Some love doesn't come with kisses, and that's okay, because you can love someone who has mono, and so you don't have to kiss them. Now that I think about it, I think I had mono in the 8th grade, which is weird, because I only kissed one boy from 2008 until 2011. Band camp was a strange time. We would walk up this big hill every day to get to rehearsals carrying our instrument cases. Band camp is how I learned about Moondance by Van Morrison. I love that song because it brings me back to when Facebook was relevant. And when I hear it, I can picture a world with just Facebook. Can you remember the last day you lived with just Facebook? I wish everyone would use rotary phones again. Just kidding, no I don't. Apple Maps saved my ass every day. I wish we could have Apple Maps, but not social media. It's 4 a.m. for the third day in a row. I mean, there's always a 4 a.m, but for me, it's the third day in a row. I was so tired an hour ago, and now I'm wide awake, vaping like a hyena. Picture those 3 ugly hyena fuckers from Lion King animated movie vaping. Like, put little jewels in their mouths in your head right now and just hear their voices. I used to have nightmares about the monkey from Lion King as a kid. I would lie in bed and picture his big creepy fucker eyes telling Simba to look in the water and doing his weird little laugh and then hitting me in the head with his stick. I think that's where my neuroses started, was with that fucking monkey from Lion King hitting me in the head every night at our apartment in Erie that we shared with my uncle and his wife and their kid. It was 6 of us in a 1-bedroom apartment. Downstairs there was a guy who would try to sell my dad crack cocaine every day. My dad is old school, cigarettes sufficed. He would always have those big value packs of Marlboros in the back of his car. I remember one day another cousin of mine were driving in the back of the Honda with him, and my dad asked me to hand him a pack, so I did, because he's my dad, duh. And my cousin said how gross it was. But I liked the smell, so I just threw my hair back, opened the window, and nonchalantly said, "You get used to it." Like I was in some 40s Hollywood movie. And my cousin blew up at me and said, "I don't want to get used to it." And I said, "Okay, kid, well, don't yell at me, because I'm just as innocent as you are. Just don't breathe for the next 15 minutes while we drive to Walmart to pick up Windex and milk." Thank you. Next up, we have Woodstock.
The unspoken rule of the bar, as I've always learned, is that if a woman wants to be talked to, she sits by herself next to no one, with a half-empty glass. Which is why after an hour-long staring contest with life, I decided to swallow my pride and gather my language, to move to the bar and practice my privilege, while half pretending to see what Bataille has to say about evil. And before my plan was carried out, there was an undeniable presence that forced to leave my brain from the new section my eyes were racing into. Eroticism is the approval of life up until death. The page isn't going anywhere, and I doubt I could comprehend any of it through this swampy mind. Often I can't even do it through a sober one. So I loosened my shoulders, picked up my spine, left my index finger on the page, and closed it with the others. So whoever I was about to talk to knows that I'm confident enough and indeed did not just come out of a breakdown. And there he was, Rick, staring at me with his eyes wider than usual. I couldn't tell whether it was the drugs or him being surprised to see me in your absence. I felt pathetic and embarrassed and believed that those feelings came from him. He must have felt sorry for me, but he must have also been curious. What's Jer's girl, or whatever 50-year-olds call their side chicks, doing here? Did they break up again? What's her deal? Is she here to catch him with another woman? I should text him. I can't deal with this. But to my surprise, he was nice enough to talk to me. And the fact is, we talked through the whole night. He didn't make up any excuse to get away from me, or did he abandon me through long conversations with his neighborhood friends, whom I've apparently met but too drunk to remember. So he reintroduced me as, yeah, this is Jeremy's something I didn't hear. He didn't call me a chick, I hope not. And it was a Rick that I'd never seen. So beyond thrilled, I decided to I decided to use this opportunity to finally make my case and prove to him that I'm a decent human being instead of someone who's bringing his best friend to self-destruction. So with my sharpened mind, I set out to war. First, I asked him about his daughter, which I knew gets everyone vulnerable fast. And then his life, what's new. Then his work, exciting plans, favorite musicians. Bombarding him with questions so I could stay safe was a strategy. And to my satisfaction, he answered all of them without a moment's hesitation, as if he's been waiting for me to listen. A truly lonely man, I observed as the bartender poured him drink after drinks without being asked to, as his expression grew increasingly loose and his language obscure, until he finally realized that someone was exploiting him. So he turned to me and said, "You know, I'm pretty fucked up right now," and turned to stop the bartender who's pouring him another. It was probably around 12 when the final reward landed on my palm, when he asked for my impression of him. First impression or up until now. I was still somewhat sharp. Until now, he demanded. I pretended to think for a moment and said, I think you have a big personality, and I think you really care for people who are important to you, aka your best friend. Looking satisfied, he downed the last bit of his drink and said, "Now my turn." "What? You've answered mine. I should return the favor." "Okay. What's your impression of me up until tonight?" He stared at me as I stared at the drink and said, "Sweet and lonely." There's no better way to put this. I was texting you when your wife and daughter walked through me, when my phone was playing Comic Life, and Ponyo, being the absolute champ she is, decided to forget me. It only took me several breakdowns, about 50 glasses of wine, and 4,037 words to realize that I'm incapable of writing about any of this. Was it chance or was it choice? I was there every Friday catching sunsets. Regardless, the fact that a dog had more composure than me is more than enough to make anyone want to give up. And since then, I've expressed a somewhat aggressive curiosity towards your prodigy. My only window to your reality that has now been broken. The time when you couldn't endure my grind about your life. You smirked and asked whether I like blonde girls. To loosen the tension, crisis averted. I painted a picture then and there, but still couldn't imagine. And the times when you became a proud father, showing me photos of your daughter like there's nothing to hide. I need a real life. Onto the absurdity of my position and tardiness, and feel sorry that we have to drown our differences in alcohol and sex. But alas, a summer of war later, the dust on my laptop is coming off. I still don't know what it means to be a poet, but I am starting to understand what it means to play to lose. It's been a while since I've had that thing with that one you now forbade me to see. But he stayed on the edge of my senses, so there's nothing much I can do. around the corner in the bookstore around happy hour, and the Odeon with someone else's ball pit. I panicked the way I did, dozing off into the day in his arms around me and skins tucked together, folded in expired body fluid, stuck in the sheets, 7:30. Struggling to find justice for your hoodie, now laying defeated on the stranger's carpeted floor. He savored his life in broken mason jars, cigarette butts, poems he said he will one day publish once he gets older. I'm 42, he said. Maybe I am older. But he stripped me off your hoodie like 20 years of friendship weighs less than that glass of mezcal. When he told me, no one goes to Kips Bay 2 in the morning, I let him pour another glass of smoke into my already fogged brain and let the cab take her nightcap away. I remembered the clean sheets, the big pillows, and getting out of my APCs with a voice that says, we don't have to do this.
We have 4 poets left, so I'm gonna make mine a little quicker if I can find the quick ones. Da, 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 da. Okay. Okay. This is another oldie but goodie. Ugly idiot bastard ant crawled up a hill. A little boy named Harry was walking by with a lollipop. He was licking the lollipop when he spotted the ugly idiot bastard ant. He approached the ugly idiot bastard ant and said, "Hello, Mr. Ant, my name is Harry, what's your name?" And the ugly idiot bastard ant said, "Hello, Harry, my name is ugly idiot bastard ant." They sat together in solitude, the angry heat of summer making its mark on their frail little bodies as they stared in curiosity at each other's bodies. "Why is this ant so ugly?" thought Harry. "I bet he's asking himself why I'm so ugly," thought the idiot bastard ant. "Not only is he ugly, but he seems like an idiot, too." Harry squinted his eyes at the bastard ant. "It's not polite to stare like that," cried the bastard ant. "Don't tell me what to do, you bastard," screeched Harry. And so the ant went along his way, and Harry was left still holding his lollipop, which had melted onto his hand. He began to cry. Next up, we have Dante Kanter.
I think I'm gonna have to
Yes.
this microphone. Hey everybody, my name's Dante. I work here. I'm gonna read 3 very short poems for everybody. This first one is called Bill's. It's about a diner in my neighborhood called Bill's. It's a haibun. So if you picture it on the page, it's like a long block of prose and then a haiku at the end. So let's see if you guys can guess where the haiku is. All right. Bills. Where coffee comes in a paper cup of something hot, sometimes as good as skin. In the painting, askew, cooks wring chickens by their necks. Everyone is wearing a hat, and on each hat, a message: love, the Mets, the fire department. 7-pronged leaves laid brightly over, patterned brightly across. Someone is speaking smoke into the air. I have memories there, she says. You do not have memories there. Julia is on crutches, has a French woman sleeping in her room. Captain America rips the enemy in half. His face a sexy swoon. The eggs arrive. I'll be your butter and egg man from way down south. Smoke a patient mouth. That's the first one. The second one is a very silly poem. It's a list poem. That's called 20 Video Captions. 1. You wouldn't want them to cut the wrong rope. 2. This duck plays the drums with his feet. 3. There are reasons why some people might not go to therapy. 4. The whole thing is alcohol, except for the rose syrup. 5. Flea played guitar for Coco the gorilla. 6. He's made his excuses. 7. A little boy and his mother were dreading this haircut. 8. Literally no one. 9. The satisfaction in his eyes when it comes out. 10. Some people call it beer can chicken. 11. It's 11 balls taped together. 12. Soap made of human dairy. 13. Mesmerizing. 14. A man that busts his ass to provide for his family is a winner. 15. The mysterious Japanese orb was just a buoy. 16. Gaming is gaming. 17. I love these creatures. 18. If you catch a mouse in your house, kill it. 19. What can you buy with your body count? 20. You wouldn't want them to cut the wrong rope. That's one. And then this next one, I was in Sicily a couple months ago. This is a poem called Sicily. Psychosomatica was the city we set out for. If city it was, and this is in parentheses, psychosomatica. If not, 6 long notes sung behind our ear. The warmth, the singer's breath, bearded voice. If not, the feeling. Zoe's rough leg, scarred foot, describes the blue through the hotel window. We shivered on the prow, our bodies rose, a surge of words, the sea, its own Attica, making its demands. A city it was, the kind of city you can sit on. A couch it was. The furniture somnambulates to its place. Libyan girls throw fireworks down sewer grates and wait. If not, a surgeon amputating sound. A city filled the room like water, looking for an empty place. If not, a city, an escape. On the couch, the singer bends his note. In the hotel window, the city twists its knee. Her rough legs wove together. See me. See. Thank you.
Dante. I'm trying to make sense of this world. I'm trying to make sense of phrases like generational trauma, and it comes out messy. Culture is different here than in Europe. In Romania, there's no generational trauma, just stories about how awful your great uncle was, or how your aunt's a whore, or how your great grandpa used to beat his wife and that's why she lived 30 years longer. Of course, people like to compare people to their relatives, even the ones that are dead, especially the ones that are dead, that you've never met and never will, and what are you supposed to say? The rule of thumb is, if it's negative, don't talk about it. Don't make it alive again. So no, even the bad stuff is just not spoken about. Is that a form of generational trauma? Deflection? Can an entire culture of people deflect? How do you break that cycle? And at what point is it just culture? Morgan Boyle. Yeah.
Thank you. I thought that was really nice. I like air horn. I heard it's really good. Hi. I'm gonna read 3 poems. It's a weird dichotomy, so it's a weird dichotomy. I'm reading 3 poems. Okay. Last night at the corner store in the East Village. While buying Catherine American Spirit orange cigarettes that I smoke too many of, and my voice sounds like somebody trying to revive my dead vocal cords by sticking them in the great microwave of the world. Last night at the corner store in the East Village, I wanted so badly, so desperately, to stick my hand in the bucket of loose, fresh eggs on the counter, move it around within the egg bucket, listen to the sound of the eggs as they touched one another briefly, eggly. The sound that only eggs make, the sound that when you hear it you think, oh yes, that's the sound that eggs make when they touch. I deeply wanted to hear that sound coming from the eggs all loose in the bucket, sitting on the counter next to the cigarettes. Colleen said the eggs were loosies, and I laughed. Dylan asked if I purchased any, and I said no. We were there to buy cigarettes, and we're going to a bar. The eggs wouldn't have liked the bar, and I wouldn't have liked the eggs being there, with them being so young and so fresh. Eggs are such a vulnerable liability. While I purchased cigarettes, I asked Catherine to take photos of the eggs for me, and she took 7 photos, all from the same angle, but the zoom was different. And looking at the egg photos from the fog of this morning's hangover, I realized that there is a crumb in the egg bucket. A large pastry crumb from a pastry eaten over the egg bucket. This is New York City, what the fuck? That's how you get cockroaches. What if cockroaches come for the crumb and lay eggs on the eggs? How disgusting. Eggs would be in the eggs, and none of the eggs are in the fridge, and who eats pastry over the eggs? And Catherine and I left the store, we bought no eggs. We never made them make a sound. We smoked the cigarettes and stood on 2nd Avenue, and there were coffee cups just absolutely everywhere. Woo! Thank you. This next poem is about trying to sell stuff on the internet. I have some stuff for sale on the internet. So if you're looking for stuff, I have some. Hot girls keep wanting to buy my cat tree on Facebook Marketplace. The hot girls are asking, hi, is this available? Because that is the prompt that Facebook Marketplace gives you when you're inquiring about an item for sale. It is said that every 5 seconds another hot girl asks, hi, is this available on Facebook Marketplace? Every 5 minutes I am the person the hot girl is asking. She wants to buy my cat tree. My cat tree is very beautiful and interesting. I bought it off a website with AI reviews and Instagram bot followers. I like when the bot followers leave comments on cat tree Instagram posts. Thank you so much for all your spiritual guidance. My boyfriend is back to me and we will be getting married soon. And this is all you're doing. Thank you for making my dream come through. They had photoshopped these eerie, expensive, squashed-faced cats onto the tree, and I thought it was all so beautiful. Every time I go to the vet, they tell me my cat is chubby. The photoshopped, squash-faced cats look so happy and fluffy, but lean at the same time. Unrealistic beauty standards, but for cats. I love the internet. We have created something insane. Maybe if I bought this cat tree, Kiko would also look happy and fluffy but lean. Besides, the cat tree looks so beautiful, like modern art. I could put it in my living room, and Kiko and I could gaze at it, and he could climb on it while I sat in my kitchen that had absolutely no cockroaches in it at any time at all ever, and both of us would be so happy and fluffy but lean. I realize now that the photoshopped cats are not even real cats. Just fully computer-generated cats without interior lives. The computer cats, AI reviews, and bot followers sold me the cat tree. A sucker may be born every minute, but we never talk about what they do after birth. They buy cat trees on the internet. Cat trees that are 2/3 of the size advertised and are goddamn hell to put together. When I put Kiko on the tree, it rocked a bit, and he didn't fit on the platforms. And he looked so sad, and not happy, fluffy, but lean at all. All of the hot girls on Facebook Marketplace are messaging. Hi, is this available? And yes, it is. Because none of these hot girls have come physically to my apartment to pick it up. The hot girls don't have hands with which to hold the cat tree. They don't have feet to walk to my apartment. The hot girls can't drive. The hot girls are computer generated. Digital ideas. The hot girls don't have interior lives. They cease to exist when the screen goes dark. They don't even have friends online. Go to their profiles, see for yourself. They're so lonely in their high towers. So lonely in the series of tubes. All of the hot girls are busy this week. They have important jobs and many tasks. The hot girls offer to overnight me a cashier's check and throw down an extra 100 for my time. As a bot following computer cat believing AI review enjoying cat tree buying soccer, I find the stories tempting, dreamy even. I love a surprise $100 and I am a fool. They offered to pay me extra on the check for a moving service. After depositing the cashier's check, I'd shift some of the money into the mover's account. The check would bounce. The check will always bounce. It's your own money in the mover's account that does not belong to the movers. What movers? There was never any movers. And you would realize this while waiting for them alone in your apartment. The cat tree, unmoved, sitting, waiting, a monument to stupidity, to suckerdom, to the fact that no real person on Facebook Marketplace is actually dumb enough to want it, but I know this. I don't accept the hot girls' checks. Instead, I talk to them like friends. I don't want them to feel lonely. I tell them that I went out with Catherine last night, that I'm a little hungover, that I fucked up paying for all the Gatorade I bought at the corner store and looked like a fool in front of Shelby, who works there every day and is so lovely and knows how I take my coffee and who met my mom. The hot girls don't respond. They never speak to me again. Their profiles will likely be deleted soon, and they will spawn again, fully formed, born beautiful at 25, friendless on the World Wide Web, the only purpose in their lives to want things. To question availability, to offer money for your troubles, and to be too busy. So many digital tasks, so much to do, a social life so jam-packed with no one, that someone will be there to pick it up. Cool. I'm gonna read one more poem. This poem is like real sad, not funny. So just, it's sad. That's what I'm saying. The dichotomy is weird. So I'm just like, hey, this is sad. Okay, cool. Broken foot as misery cave creature, as swinging my body into the sun as. Later in the afternoon on the fire escape, I read Leatherdyke's smut and wonder how my landlady gets her flowers so tall in November. Thinking of when I first moved in here, you took me to the window, we looked down at the flowers together, and you asked me how it felt to see where the rent goes. Sun all around, but so low today, no rays can reach me. You've been dead a year. I'm having trouble with the lights again, or I guess I'm having trouble with the dark again. There's no computer screen glow blue enough to shake my thoughts of you off that bathroom floor. 'Cause maybe the lights just haven't been flicked on yet, and you're still lying there waiting for me to find the body you wanted to leave behind. The lights have been on, and I have been up since I thought I was dying around 4 a.m. Says something, that I was so fearful of the great void that I took a fuckload of laxative at 6 to feel something, shut my lights out by 7, reclined in the shower after, laid in the hot water and thought how delicious it is to be clean. By 8, I was convinced I had saved my life. By 9, I was full of figurative shit. I stopped keeping track of the day. Peruse posted this photo of the sky from the above-ground subway platform earlier. Blue and cloudless to match, I sobbed wildly at the kitchen table, wondered if my landlady could hear me, wondered what she'd think if she knew all this carrying on was over and under the sky and her roof. How do those flowers get so tall in November? I'm glad she doesn't come to see. I prefer not to be seen now. My last face-to-face conversation was 6 days ago. It is 6 days and 1 year to the day I found you all spread out down there on the floor a few blocks away. 6 days ago, I relived the night I planned out to the minute, the specific moments of dancing to a Jonathan Tubin soul playlist while cleaning, texts from friends received, walking back from the Rite Aid with mop cleaner, your 18-hour silence digging a hole, silently cooking curry for the void of you, acts of finality, putting on shoes, packing phone charger, locking doors, leaving lights on, feet following familiar walk in the first cold night, the incessant ringing of your doorbell, arguing my way into the building, your keys in my hands, the give of the lock and the lights came on, flicked on, lights, and so much light, and the hallway hurt my eyes. You had on your favorite sweater. I called your mom. I've always wanted you to know that. Thank you.
Thank you. One day our egos will die a tragic, beautiful death. I hope it smells like Marc Jacobs, the rotting flesh of that wretched creature that held me back from forming connections and kept me hostage in a string of self-destruction. She was such a cunt. A big, fat, hairy cunt with fat lips that hung like a pastrami sandwich. Not all cunts are equal. I'm glad she's dead, but I can feel her spooky pussy ghost haunt me from time to time. There needs to be a European wax center, but for our egos. Maybe I should go back to church. Maybe that's what God is, a European wax center. Meant to wax away every little pube so that we're naked again, cleansed of ritualistic ruin, cluttered mental chaos. I babble and overshare on a lot of first dates lately. I can't tell if it's that old cunt trying to peep her way out or a pathetic attempt at vulnerability, thus concealing the remaining ingrown hairs. Or maybe I just have a big fat mouth and oral fixation. If I had a dick, I'd be sucking it right now, but I just have this pastrami sandwich I'd like to burn to the ground. Next up, we have Hussein.
Not that tall. Thank you so much for having me, Nancy. This is the first time I do a reading, and I don't read poems. I'm very bad at writing or reading, so I'm trying to do better at that. And this is for, I've been writing this for a theater play that I'm directing, and trying to add more conversations into the theater. And this piece is called, it's a little personal. I stray out of my mind, I stray out of reality. No more pain, and I mean chronically. But technically I was ambushed by society's lack of awareness that got me systematically. Damn. Let's not get too negative among these unrealities. Just venting. My apologies. I ain't even mentioning politics and policies and charted script scratches unconsciously, but possibly philosophy. Enough about myself and negativity. What's your story? Tell me about the options, the ones I never get in my astrology. Believe me, I follow the road to heaven in animosity, with hell being my accompany. But wait, let's get poor people more lotteries. Sorry. While riding in the subway, I'm losing track, heading to a spiritual class to make this last. Oh God, this is my reality. And here comes the gin. Gotta get to bed. I need to pray and calm down, that's what she said. Your dreams are too high, but you're low on your meds. Man, I'm stressed. Influences and lack of respect. Yeah, I survived Fort War. You impressed? It's hard to rest. On that note, background check, yo. I was reinstalled 29 years ago in the war of Baghdad, Kurdistan, Aleppo. Forward, here we go. Back in the mountains, frontline fighters, ISIS came, but guerrillas stole. Bullet after bullet, I loot and stone cold. Knowledge and frauds, I'm stealing your plate right in front of your eyes. Is that the prize? Welcome to America for some glitters and thighs. So here I thrive, theatrical impressions with so many lies. You look surprised. Well, hey Nancy, give me a Miller. 'Cause I feel like I haven't spoken like that since Ice Cube and Shelters. Crypto creeping and Barclayan Lakers. Management failures. War-torn countries, third war phases. Leaders. Crafting with steel, real life, I'm talking acres. Railroads and backbone breakers with pyramid laws. My God, Moses is going outrageous. Thank you.
That was awesome. This is my last poem of the night, and then I have one last poet to introduce to you all. I feel triumphant when I remember to do things, laundry, writing lists, remember to buy toilet paper because it's my turn, when I have a night of really good sex, when I drink 4 martinis and don't force someone to play the piano against their will, when I run a mile without mentally planning my last will and testament. I've been thinking about writing a will lately, hot. Not because I plan on dying, but what would happen to my cat if I suddenly got hit by a car? Who would get to keep the 2 records I own, and what would I leave my sister? I guess she gets my money for college and purses. Once I get to the midway point of my very short will, I crumble up the idea in my head, because what if my friends found it and thought I was planning to kill myself? They'd send me to a psych ward, which would actually be kind of chic. Rich people go to psych wards and it's a vibe. I'd get a big head and start doing rewrites on the will, telling everyone they get a car. I don't like suicide jokes, I think they're cheap, but I totally get it when people say things like, I'd rather kill myself than, and then say something basic like, go to work today, or see that guy again. We all use different language to communicate how we feel and what we are trying to say, and these are VBT, very big things. And so I'm not mad when people say things like that, and I've said things like that, but it's not funny, and I always squirm a bit. I think I'd give my cat to the bodega guy. He is so nice, and she could become their mascot. Carlos Jimenez.
Hello. I haven't written a will yet, but I did do that thing where, like, online you could choose, like, who gets your passwords if you die. And then so I did that, and then I gave my mom, like, all the bank stuff and all the, FAFSA or whatever, all that stuff. And then I gave my best friend Nick all my social media and all those things. He doesn't know that. And I'm realizing, like, I just thought about it, like, I should probably tell him. It'd be like a lot all at once, I'm dead. Okay, this one is called M Train 1 a.m. Oh, and I have a bunch of zines I'm giving out for free, so if anybody wants one, these are all the poems I'm going to read today. It's called M Train at 1 a.m. I'm sitting next to a young man who is blackout drunk. He has a big bag of water. He fell on me when the train stopped at Marcy Ave, and his head is on my shoulder. He's wearing a Packers beanie with lots of pilling, and his Timbs are untied. I've never had a man on my shoulder. Men are heavy. And this one smells like a wood fire and brown liquor. In fact, I haven't had a head on my shoulder in a while. It's nice. That's it. Poem, okay. This next one's called Full Spring. I was on a date in March, and it was nice out, so I suggested we ride city bikes through Prospect Park. It was beautiful, and the sun was dripping apple cider, but the wind was so strong we kept complaining our hands were cold. When we docked the bikes, I was laughing, saying my fingers were so stiff, and she came in to hug me and stuck her hands down the front of my pants, grabbing my balls. I gasped. I pulled back, but she said no very nicely, and I stayed. First she felt like bones with acrylic nails on. Then I felt her peeling calluses on her farm hands. I hugged her. I dug my hands in her hair. I got hard. Later she described it as not elegant like a butterfly or the chrysalis, but more writhing, like a molting roach. When her hands were warm, she snapped my waistband and said thanks. I just want to say hi to TikTok. You don't get any zines. Because I'm not mailing them. Okay. During lockdown, I read this book called Lying, and it was really fucking good. And it was about how you should, the argument of the book was that you should stop lying in pretty much all circumstances. No Santa Claus, no surprise parties, no nothing. Truth all the time. And then you have to learn how to be tactful and all that stuff. So I have a lot of poems that are about that, and this is one of them. This one's called A Lie I Will Keep Telling. I'm at a party, and the circle is sharing their first memories. One says his is being placed in the wrong crib by a babysitter. My friend remembers eating oyster crackers that were too dry. Laura says hers was being chosen to be the nap fairy, where one kid goes around to all the cots and wakes all the other kids up from nap time. My favorite is my dates when she was 5 years old at a pride parade. She was excited and yelling, "Wow, look at all the pretty ladies." And she made all the queens laugh when they got closer, and she yelled, "Mom, that's not a lady." My first memory is my dad throwing a baseball bat across the room, breaking a mirror, punching my mom in the face, running down the block with me on his shoulders. Mom at night in the bright white of an ambulance. Dad ducking his head to the blue and red of a cop car. I don't tell people that, though. I tell them my second memory. Walking to kindergarten. It is very hot. And it was my first time seeing a koi pond. I used to listen to this podcast called You Made It Weird.
Love that podcast.
It's really good.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he asks about God and all their beliefs and stuff. It's like really heavy stuff. People are crying, you know. And this last question was, what was the hardest you ever laughed? And so this one is called The Most Fun I've Ever Had. A puckered anus, breathing like pursed lips on his tiny cigarette, tiny kisses on foreheads. The tip of a ketchup bottle, farting the last drops of ketchup. Push the stomach in and the anus opens. The filthy air floats down like the cold from a freezer. Put a finger in a soda lid and the sharp bits hold the finger in. I was lying on the carpet and your rabbit was licking my forehead. I couldn't stop laughing. His tongue was so tiny and my head was so salty. And I'm a happy raspberry. I'm a happy raspberry. And when he stopped, I was wheezing and crying and flush red. That was the hardest I've ever laughed. That is it. Okay, the last one. Okay, it's kind of a weird end, but I really didn't plan to get to it. Okay, the last one is the last one. It's called Callousness. I am the most callous to the homeless when I'm wearing my wool overcoat. Even worse with the blue scarf that picks up my blue lining. I'm walking my date from a restaurant with dim lights to a bar with dimmer lights. This is the best hour to get there and find a good seat. She's wearing blue acrylics. When she types, they sound like chiclets. She can't make a fist. In the subway stairwell, we walk by a heap of plastic bags and through the stench. Pretend we don't see the sores. Pretend we don't hear the paper cup shucking. Thank you. That's it. If you want one of these, just like ask me. Have a good one. Bye, TikTok.
Thanks everyone for coming out tonight. We do this every month, usually the third or the last Sunday of the month. If you're interested in getting involved, just DM us at Poets Are the Destroyers on Instagram. Check out the movie on Reverie TV. My name is Nancy Pop. That's Jonas Kyle. This was Splash.